those two spots?
Let me talk next about the berm.
Isn't that nice? Yeah.
The berm, the south berm experienced about a 2 to 3 foot rate of subsidence over a fairly rapid period of time. It seemed to be consistent with an uptick in the microseismic activity. It put us on alert. We were concerned that the thing could sink below the water level and we'd have a connection between sinkhole waters and the waters outside. Through some careful analysis, a lot of subsidence monitoring, we concluded that it was an intermittent subsidence event, which does seem to be correlated to the microseismicity. Basically, what we think is happening is when the cavern consumes a little bit more material, it causes a shift at the surface, sands move in toward the sinkhole, and we'll get an acute event. I say acute, it may take a week or two, but at one point it was subsiding about a foot per week, which was an alarming rate. But fortunately, it stopped, and we've had now, we're kind of in the beginning of maybe our second period, sustained period, where we don't see any seismicity, or relative seismicity, and we don't see any major subsidence. Nonetheless, we're checking it weekly, and we're looking for any signs that it'll pick back up. Now, in the interim, before we can get the new south berm completed, at least to the extent that we get the sand road in and we have initial containment, we went in and we plan to continue to go in and we placed sand and raised that elevation by about 12 inches. So right now we've got at least a foot of barrier between the sinkhole and the outside. Construction, I think, report is absolutely complete. What do we estimate, Charlie?
It looks like about 24 days for sand, and then probably 15 days for clay. A few things here and there, pushing into March and April.
Okay.
So the final design with the DCL and the turbidity curtains and things like that. So.
But at the least, the very initial separation or containment will be by the end of this month. So we're just maybe 2.5, 3 weeks away.
Is that the routing line?
Yeah, I wanted to show you, this is the route. This darker blue line provides you the route. And we have begun off the well 10 pad. Are we down to the point yet, Charlie, where we're bending back? I haven't been down there
Well,
today.
we're actually right here as of today. We were waiting on permission for Florida Gas to cross their right-of-way right here, so we got that this afternoon, and so we're having one of their techs out tomorrow, so we'll be able to push through that tomorrow. So we're already ahead of schedule.
Ahead of schedule, probably at least a third, maybe 35–40%. So we're making good progress there.
So what's the estimated distance between Bayou Corn and the new south berm? Yeah, but what
Depending on where you stand, Nick, I mean we're probably within 50 feet at this point, maybe 100 here and a couple of hundred down here. If the growth continues as the subsidence on the South Berm Road suggests, it could go down somewhere about like this and extend. We think it's wrapping around the edge of the salt dome, so we think if it does continue, it'll kind of progress in this direction.
What do you do if the subsidence area goes outside of the new south berm?
Well, we've got some instruments we're putting in, new inclinometers that will give us alerts, give us warning, if you will, that that's taking place. And our response will be very similar to what we've done right here, except we'll start looking at rerouting the bayou.
Okay. If that were the case, have you contacted the Corps of Engineers and did all, because those things, as I understand, take quite a bit of time.
It does take time, but we've done our conceptual design, we've looked at options. Tetra Tech has prepared a preliminary set of reports that would be required. They've done the initial investigation for all of those things that would be required, and we think we're in good standing with the Corps. We've had excellent progress working with the Corps and getting our emergency use authorizations for these berm projects. So we're confident that if it comes to that, and we don't expect that, if it comes to that, we'll be prepared.
but y'all have some benchmarks along the way. If this happens, you'll do this, if this happens, before it even gets to that point.
Right, certainly having the inclinometers. Eric, can you show us where they're located?
Yes.
These guys just flew in from North Dakota, so they're kind of scruffy. It's
Oh,
only 20 below us.
that's all right. Come down to nice warm
They
weather.
crawled out of a cave up there.
So we've got 2 inclinometers arrays, we're gonna put in here, we're just right off the old south berm, and then another 300 feet south, down in here. So these will be north of the new south berm, right between the old berm and the new one, and this one's gonna be to about 140 feet, about to the aquifer sands. And the one in the south will be somewhere between 70 and 90 feet.
And what do you call them?
Inclinometers,
And what will they tell you?
they tell ground movement. So this whole thing around here is subsiding. The south berm, you already know that. As it subsides, it tends to tilt towards the sinkhole a little bit. And so this will be a string of instruments that will detect that tilt. And as it tilts, we're streaming in real-time data to see how much it's gonna tilt, if it does tilt.
They're basically a vertical array that can detect some movement off of vertical.
Yes.
That's local instruments, the readings,
Local
or they go
instruments, yeah.
somewhere local?
Well, no, they send out the data to the internet and we can pick it up
Right.
through our server.
And this is an addition to an existing network that's been in place for about a year.
Since August, I think,
Since August.
2012.
Yeah, you wanna show?
We've had instruments, right after the sinkhole occurred, we were called and I came down, my name is Eric Krantz. I came down and put in five inclinometers right at the surface around the sinkhole. This was back when it was just maybe the size of a quarter on this map. We put in 5 around here, 1 on each of the brine tanks, 1 on the shop, and 1 on pad 3, right above the oxygeyser 3 well. And as the sinkhole expanded, we've had to move some of them outward. We lost 2 during a quick subsidence event. They're several feet underwater now. Mark won't let me get scuba gear to dive down.
Not sure a mask will fit over that. We also have tilt meters on the brine tank.
Yeah, there's 2 tilt meters on the brine tanks that are monitoring tank movement.
Yeah, there.
Has there been any tank movement?
So far, we've just seen temperature fluctuate. These things are so
We had a
sensitive.
false alarm on the one that was east, furthest east, which made no sense, because the one on the west was moving all. Turned out the instrument was weathered and we replaced it.
Yeah. Mark,
Yeah.
Mark, how deep is the sinkhole right now?
200 feet plus or minus. You know, for a long time, it seemed to be relatively quiet. We had an absence of what's called very long period signals, which we've interpreted as consumption, where the sinkhole is consuming material and fluid is displaced as it's consumed. We went through a period there where there was virtually none, and we got really confident that things were, starting to wind down. Well, they picked back up a little bit. And so the last sinkhole profile that we did, I think we just got the results in last week, indicated that it went down again by another 20 to 30 feet. I don't know the exact.
250 December was the deepest spot.
250?
Yeah. So.
How do you determine that?
Yeah, it was a.
How do you determine?
Miller has a bathymeter. Basically, it's a sounding device. It's like a sonar, isn't it? Sonar tool that pings noise and it'll get a reflection. And by knowing the density of the fluid that they're running through and the velocity that noise will travel through that material, they can calculate how far off. And then they also have a process of dropping a sinker bar for validating their findings. I don't think they do the validation very often or very much, but the actual soundings probably collect some 10,000 data points for every profile that they do.
How does that jive with what John Woodrow came up with when he was doing the soundings?
It doesn't.
But I mean, what do you think John's just went down and just kind of curled the wire down, or he actually?
I don't know. I don't know, maybe, it's possible that John was out there at just the perfect moment where some of this consumption took place and he was able to get that thing down.
Where's John?
Let me just
Oh, yeah, Mark, I
John,
think
you've
that
been out
Ivy
there
Center's
since?
matched
Let me just
up pretty
follow
good.
up on just